So I've got a new YouTube channel. It's called New World All-Star Clips. I was on there the other day looking through the comments. It's very small at this time. The channel is. Just started it. And I'm looking at the comments, and I think what's happening is the YouTube algorithm is still trying to figure out like what kind of audience fits with the content that I'm pushing. That's kind of what YouTube does. So when you're starting a channel, you know, you're probably going to get more people than not who don't care for what you're saying, right? And so I've just noticed that, like, I've been getting more negative comments than usual on there, and some of them are really nasty too. But you know, you just delete them. It's whatever. People can say whatever they want. But the kind of pushback that I was getting, though, because it's all law of attraction stuff on this other YouTube channel, the pushback that I was getting was just generally like, man, you're fucking batshit crazy, dude. This is all crazy magical thinking. You're nuts. You new age fruitcakes, right? There's no proof any of this stuff is real. And that's fine. I don't care if somebody disagrees with me. But I understand why people say those things. And that's kind of what today's video is about. Like, even if you don't understand why the law of attraction works or if this is real, it's because you've been told otherwise. And I've got some good news. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of scientists who are saying it could be true. And we're going to get into that in today's video, that it's not crazy to say these things, guys. That there is this creative force that we get to participate in. And science is taking this very, very seriously. And this is what many of the commenters were taking issue with, which is to say that there's science to this, right? If you, I understand the fact that in today's world, you have this phenomenon where people are pushing things that are untrue, and to make it look true and legitimate, all they have to do is invoke science. And it's like they just keep saying the word science over and over and over again. And it creates this maybe impression upon the unsuspecting audience that it's scientific, even if it's complete quackery. But what I'm going to show you today is this is not quackery. The law of attraction. This is absolutely real, and there are some very, very serious minds that are talking about this stuff, you guys. So that's kind of what inspired today's video. And again, I don't care if people don't like what I'm saying or want to talk crap or whatever. It's fine. But it's interesting that people still think that way. And I'm going to name these people specifically, four in particular. There's lots of them. But before I do, why people still think like that? Like, why people still believe that we live in this limited, mechanical, dead universe? Well, it's because we've been told that. We were told our whole entire lives, and certainly for the last several hundred years, if not longer, that you're just a bag of bones. Nobody knows what happens to you when you die. There's no God. There's no cosmic forces. There's no greater intelligence. There's no such thing as telepathy, right? Prayer, law of attraction, that's all crazy. You're a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists, lunatics. There's no such thing as aliens. Even though about 2 years ago they admitted yeah, there's aliens. But you're bad if you think we're bad for lying to you about aliens for 80 years and ruining people's lives and destroying careers and shaming people and ridiculing people for saying that we're being visited by craft that are not from this world. But yeah, that is true. There are UFOs. That is true. But you're bad if you think we're bad for lying about it and for gaslighting you. It's no wonder that people have this very pompous attitude towards a thing like the law of attraction. When we have that narrative spoon-fed to us for hundreds of years from every conceivable institution in our society. But let's go down this list of just 4 of the scientists that I have noticed, and there's lots more, guys. There's lots more. Television, pop culture, the government, the educational institutions, etc., etc. They're not telling you what's going on in the scientific community right now, guys. They're not telling you. They're still pushing the old materialist notion of our universe, which is that it's a dead universe. Okay? They're leaving out half the picture, and it's not that materialist science is wrong or bad. That's just half the picture. And what the system is telling you is that's all there is. Just physical matter. But you could ask any materialist scientist at all, hey, I heard that science has never discovered matter. They've never found matter. Is that true? And they're going to go, well, yeah, that's true. But we're going to find it. I'm telling you, man, I know I'm right. I'm right. Yeah. Right? You're going to get one of those from one of these kind of people. It's true, though. They've never proven the existence of matter. The deeper they dig, they keep finding energy, guys. And what I'm telling you is they're leaving half the conversation out. And they're going to be telling you things like, oh, nobody thinks that any of these things are connected and that there's some higher intelligence. Nobody thinks that, right? That's what the system is telling you. That's what the cherry-picked materialist scientists who are allowed on television are telling you. That's what they're going to tell you. There's no evidence, right? Like there's no evidence for UFOs, even though there's a whole bunch of it. And you even admitted that you've been lying to us about it for 80 years. Guys, there's a bunch of evidence. And there's also a whole bunch of scientists talking about it. There is a very, very vigorous conversation going on in the science world. They're just not putting that in the mainstream, guys. That's all. And I'm gonna explain some of these people to you. I'm gonna tell you who they are, and I'm gonna give you some resources if you would care to check them out. The first one, a gentleman by the name of Christoph Koch. He's a German-American neurophysiologist and computational neuroscientist, best known for his work on the neural basis of consciousness. Listen to this. He is the president and chief scientist of the Allen Institute for Brain Science in Seattle. From 1986 until 2013, he was a professor at the California Institute of Technology. That guy sounds like a lunatic, conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat wearing, crazy guy who's just some fucking weird new age kooky Fruity Loop kooky fruit job who believes in fantasy shit, right? Doesn't that sound like what that kind of a guy is? President and chief scientist of the Allen Institute for Brain Science in Seattle. So there's a video down below where he's explaining that information is fundamental to our reality. And this is a very esoteric concept, or at least it sounds like it. But basically, when you follow that rabbit hole all the way to its conclusion, you find consciousness, you find that consciousness is fundamental, which must mean that we live in a participatory universe. So I'm going to invite you, if you would care to watch Christoph Koch talk about these things in a video that I'm going to link down below for you. This is not quackery, and these are not quacks saying this stuff. The system is still telling you that this is quackery and nobody believes this stuff. Meanwhile, what's really going on is prestigious scientists know that this stuff is true, and they are talking about it, and there's lots of evidence. They're just not telling you that in the mainstream. Koch has authored more than 300 scientific papers and 5 books about how computers and neurons process information. In 1986, Koch and Shimon Ullman proposed the idea of a visual saliency map in the primate visual system. Subsequently, his then PhD student Laurent Itty and Koch developed a popular suite of visual saliency algorithms. For over 2 decades, Koch and his students have carried out detailed biophysical simulations of the electrical properties of neuronal tissue, from simulating the details of the action potential propagation along axioms and dendrites to the synthesis of the local field potential and the EEG from electrical activity of large populations of excitable neurons. He's going to tell you that consciousness is non-local. He's going to tell you that consciousness is not a product of electrical impulses in your brain. How does he know that? I don't know, because he studied the brain for decades and he wrote doctoral theses on it and all this other kind of stuff. This doesn't sound like a lunatic in his basement coming up with some kind of a conspiracy theorist. Does that sound like it to you? Does it sound like he's that kind of a guy? Yeah, it doesn't sound like that to me either. All right, let's go on to the next one. I'm having so much fun making this video today, you guys. Here's a whole other page of stuff that he's done. I don't even have time to read it. Koch writes a popular column, Consciousness Redux, for Scientific American Mind on scientific and popular topics pertaining to consciousness. It just goes on and on. Integrated information theory of consciousness differs from the classical panopsism in that it only ascribes consciousness to things with some degree of irreducible cause-effect power, which could include the internet. Well, never mind. I don't want to read all that to you. But basically, what it says is he's demonstrating that consciousness is non-local, meaning it's out there somewhere. Okay? It's not coming from in here or in here. It's out there somewhere. Okay? Gee, do you mean like God? Well, we don't want to say the G word. You don't say the G word. No. We're scientists. We're prestigious. Okay, fine. I'll just call it consciousness. Hey, that's fine. You can call it consciousness. I'm cool with that. All right, let's do Lothar Schaefer. Lothar Schaefer was a quantum chemist and distinguished professor. He passed away about 3 years ago, so still pretty recent. Quantum chemist and distinguished professor of chemistry at the University of Arkansas. He wrote a book, by the way, really good. Deepak Chopra did the intro, the foreword to his book called Infinite Potential, What Quantum Physics Reveals About How We Should Live. And I'm going to link down below for you a video where he and Eckhart Tolle actually did a little chat, and he describes how his realizations about quantum physics and the non-locality of consciousness resulted in his spiritual awakening. Lothar Schaefer, a physicist, a Mr. Smarty Pants with a couple of PhDs. Schaefer moved his family to Fayetteville, Arkansas in 1968, where he began his 40-year career as a professor at the University of Arkansas. He enjoyed many accolades, including being honored as a distinguished professor, publishing multiple books, teaching chemistry, philosophy, and quantum physics, and opening the minds of hundreds of young students to the world of science and its infinite potential. So, Lothar Schaefer, linked down below, having a nice little chat with Eckhart Tolle. Also, I'm going to link a couple of other videos from the Closer to Truth channel. By the way, if you're not already subscribed to the Closer to Truth YouTube channel, you should subscribe, right? I don't know how the host, Robert Lawrence Kuhn, I don't know how he knows all these people, but he knows all these philosophers and physicists and mathematicians, and it's incredible. And they have some really deep conversations about this stuff, guys. This is what I'm telling you. This is a hot conversation right now in the science world. Information is what physical matter comes from. Consciousness is what information comes from. To seek ultimate reality is to follow explanations until explanations end. So we get to the end, what do we find? Consciousness. Consciousness is fundamental and irreducible, and it is not attached to the body. It is non-local. So they have these science-y ways of saying these things so that they don't get accused of being like religious or something. Oh, it's non-local. Okay, fine. No problem. I'll play your little game. But we're saying the same thing that Hermes Trismegistus said. Okay, the universe is mind. It's mental, guys. This is huge. And these are not little guys with tinfoil hats. These are prestigious people, guys, saying these things. All right, let's go to the next one. First, Lothar Schaefer, in one of the videos down below, he describes consciousness as an unexplainable cosmic force. It's an unexplainable cosmic force. Right. And spiritual masters who have taught non-duality have explained it exactly the same way. It's the great mystery. You can't explain it. It's not concept. It's unexplainable, but you can experience it. Okay, moving on. Gregory Chaitin is an Argentine-American mathematician and computer scientist. Beginning in the late 1960s, Chaitin made contributions to algorithmic information theory and metamathematics. Metamathematics. What are we talking about here? In particular, a new incompleteness theorem in reaction to Gödel's incompleteness theorem. So what it describes here in the rest of this biography is he basically helped to invent computer algorithms that make our modern computers able to do the things they're doing, right? And it's meta mathematics, which is like a form of mental mathematics, okay? Where this is kind of where AI and stuff like that came from. So in good, bad, we're not talking about that right now. Like you can say AI is bad, you could say it's good. I say it's fine, depending on what you do with it. It's just a tool, right? We just have to use it for good, right? Instead of evil. But regardless, he started to make these connections between what he did as a mathematician and quantum physics, metaphysics, right? Mind, and these types of things. And he noticed these are the same things, right? He also writes about philosophy, especially metaphysics. So we're all spiritual people here on this spiritual YouTube channel. You guys know what that is. And philosophy of mathematics, particularly about epistemological matters in mathematics. In metaphysics, Chaitin claims that algorithmic information theory is the key to solving problems in the field of biology and neuroscience, consciousness, and the study of mind, etc., etc. Now, in the video that I'm going to link down below for you, I skipped a page. We'll come back to that. In the video that I'm going to link down below for you, so you got Robert Lawrence Kuhn and Gregory Chaitin talking about information realism, which is kind of where quantum physics is going. And that's the theory that says that the physical universe, physical matter comes from information, which sounds esoteric because it's like information, like what do you mean? Like that's not tangible. I don't understand. Right. Exactly. And Robert Kuhn kind of presses him on this. So you watch the video, you listen to their conversation, and it gets to the point where, you know how sometimes when you're talking to somebody and there's a point being made kind of under the surface, and both you and the other person are kind of dancing around it without saying it? You know what I mean? You ever had one of those? So in the conversation they have, Gregory Shaitan and Robert Lawrence Kuhn, it kind of gets to that point, and Robert Kuhn is like, okay, come on, guy, like, out with it. Like, what are you trying to say? Just say it, right? Like that, right? Like, out with it. I know what you're getting at. Just say it, right? Kind of like that kind of thing. And Greg goes, yeah, it's mind. It is the universe. The universe, it's mind. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And the guy, by the way, is not some weird conspiracy theorist wearing a tinfoil hat. He's not no low-life, Fruity Loop crackadoodle. He is an esteemed mathematician and computer scientist who he defined like a mathematical number, which like caused all these breakthroughs in physics and computer science. Like, everybody knows who this guy is. You know what I mean? And they even named it after him. Shaitan's constant, a real number whose digits are equidistributed and which is sometimes informally described as an expression of the probability that a random program will halt, etc., etc. So that's Greg Shaitan, and he's going to tell you flat out in the video down below, yeah, the universe is mind. That's what it is. That's where this is going. That's where science is going, guys. Real science. Let that sink in for a second. The universe is mind. Conventional science is proving it. Now, you know, we could just pause here again for a second and realize the fact that yeah, you know what? The system is lying to us about this. They're distracting us with bad news and football, and they're also poking fun at people that think that the universe is mental, right? Meanwhile, and they're even telling you, yeah, nobody believes in that stuff. And again, cherry-picking scientists who are allowed on television. So there's another conversation, but maybe we'll talk about that later. Here's a quote from Lothar Schaefer. I almost forgot. Again, the universe is conscious, he said. The patterns of information in the background are for its use. You could say physics is the psychology of the universe, and psychology is the physics of the mind. Listen to that again. You could say physics is the psychology of the universe, and psychology is the physics of the mind. We can understand the external world because the forms in our mind and the structures outside come out of the same order. They are congruent. We are all part of the unity, all part of a wholeness. These sound like spiritual concepts. No wonder the guy had a spiritual awakening. And again, multiple PhDs. He was the head of a university department. He wrote all these books. A quantum chemist and distinguished professor of chemistry. That doesn't sound like quackery to me. Does it sound like quackery to you? Okay, last person. Max Tegmark is a Swedish-American physicist and cosmologist. He is a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Do you guys know what that is? MIT? That's like, oh my God, like, you don't just get let into MIT, dude. MIT picks you, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough to get into MIT. I mean, they invented the very first microcomputer for the Apollo program when we went to the moon. MIT, they did that. You know what I mean? Like, MIT cranks out the world's top scientists. And here's Max Tegmark, who is a professor there, and the president of the Future of Life Institute. I mean, this just goes, dude, it's too long. I'm not going to read it all. It's insane what this guy has done. And what he's telling us is the universe is intelligent. It's an intelligence, guys. Consciousness is not local. Now, do these sound like do these sound like quacks to you? Does this sound like quackery to you anymore? Are you convinced that the law of attraction is real now? I would hope so after all that. Guys, again, you might not know this, but this is where things are going, guys. This stuff is getting proven out as reality. This is real, my friends. You are living in a participatory universe. So when it comes to the law of attraction, when it comes to whatever you're doing in your daily life to create a better life, to create the life of your dreams, to manifest the life of your dreams, guys, do it with intention. Do it with passion. This absolutely is real, and it absolutely works. It absolutely does, guys. You're not crazy for thinking these things are real and for trying. Keep trying and never give up. That's the worst thing that you could ever do, would be to give up, would be to stop. So there you go, guys. See you later.